Dr. Kirsch, followed by Rob Seidner, followed by Peter Ellsworth.
Thank you. My name is Jeff Kirsch. I'm the Executive Director of the Reuben H. Fleet Science Center and the current president of the Balboa Park Cultural Partnership. I want to let you know that our 23 institutions in Balboa Park are unanimous in the support of the Plaza de Panama project as it's been developed through the EIR process. And getting something unanimous from my fellow colleagues is quite unusual. There are many reasons to me for this project to be the most successful solution that we have seen. It is the first project that actually enhances the park experience, honors the incredible history, and meet the needs of our just as incredible future. I think this is the important thing you have to take into account. We're moving into another 100 years, and all the issues that we ask you to take a look at is to remember that we must provide an experience beyond compare, and that's what we're headed for. Thank you.
Thank you. Rob Seidner, Peter Ellsworth, Craig Wilgenbush, I hope.
Thank you. I am Director of Menge International Museum, which is fortunate to front on the Plaza de Panama. Our Board of Trustees and our management team fully and strongly support the Jacobs Plan for restoring the Plaza de Panama, believing that it does a good job of improving traffic circulation, reducing pedestrian vehicle conflicts, and reclaiming park space while maintaining access from both sides of the park. From the perspective of our institution, removing cars and opening the plaza for full pedestrian use will positively affect our museum, but more importantly, it will also greatly benefit the park as a whole and vastly improve the park experience for millions of people who visit the park each year. Thank you.
Thank you. Pete Ellsworth, Craig Wilgenbush, followed by Dan Mazzella.
I'm Pete Ellsworth. I'm the president of the Legler Benbow Foundation. We are one of the funders of this project. We fund it because we've looked at all the projects, and this is by far the best solution to maintain this park for the 21st century. But there's another reason I'd like to talk about tonight, and that is, it's not just that there's funding for this project, which distinguishes it from anything else we've heard about, but it's also that we have a civic-minded individual here who has been willing to pledge millions of dollars, a lot of his time, to try to help this city. And he deserves to follow a process, which we're in right now. And he deserves to have a decision made in the time frames that are set forth. If we don't start paying attention to trying to make sure that people who want to help this park and help this city have a process that works and not torn down by last-minute maneuvers, we are going to have a serious time raising money in San Diego for anything. Thank you very much. Please vote for the project.
Craig Wilgenbush, Dan Mazzella, and Dr. Madhavan.
Good evening. Craig Wilgenbush. As a resident of South Park, I frequently use Balboa Park, and I'm happy to have the privilege to share my thoughts and opinion for support of the Plaza de Panama project. I studied all the plans, and I think it does a very good job of balancing all the needs of a heavily visited attraction and desire to make the park more beautiful and take back the space for pedestrians. I'm a runner. I run the Rock and Roll Marathon here in San Diego as much as I can. I come over from South Park. I run through the park often. But being very careful, I've had several near misses with traffic and cars in here, and I think something needs to be done about it because drivers are distracted. It's a beautiful place, they can't help it. So separating cars from pedestrians in the park makes perfect sense to me, and it'll give us a lot more space to enjoy. So I think this project does that. It doesn't ignore the existence of cars. It's one of the most visited places in San Diego, and I hope I can celebrate the 2015 centennial in the Plaza de Panama. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dan Mazzella, Dr. Madhavan, and Chris Schaefer. I might say Dan Mazzella is a former chair.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chair, Mr. Chair. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Dan Mazzella. I live in the Marston Hills area, and as you mentioned, I'm the past chair for this committee 10 years ago, and we did go over that parking study, which Mark very generously referred to. I'm here to speak about one component of the plan, and that is I'm speaking in opposition to the bypass. And the reason why is really strictly financial, and I think it's a poor use of funds. And if I were Mr. Jacobs' lawyer, what I would say to him is, you're going to be paying for a bridge, but on St. Patrick's Day it'll be closed, so it won't be used. On Gay Pride Parade, it'll be closed. The two heaviest uses of the park, December nights and Earth Day, the bridge is again closed. The Rock and Roll Marathon, the bridge is again closed. Every heavy usage of the park, the bridge is closed. There's really pretty little bang for your buck there, and it's an extraordinary expense. Thank you.
Dr. Madhavan, Chris Schaefer, and Rex Garnowitz.
Good evening. I am Madhavan, Professor of Economics and Asian Studies, Emeritus at San Diego State University and founder of the San Diego Indian American Society, which uses the park every year to have these Festival of Lights. But I'm coming here to support the program with some minor modifications. But I would like to also say, nobody seems to disagree with making Balboa Park shining light on the earth, not only on the city. So I think the question would be to how to accommodate some differences. One of them would be to see to what extent we can reduce the carbon monoxide around here. That is what everybody in the world is doing. So here we are talking about accommodating more cars rather than reducing the number of cars and trying to bring people by some other means. So I would like to see that Jacobs Plan B is implemented with some minor modifications to take into consideration the need for reducing the carbon monoxide in the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris Schaefer, Rex Garnowitz, and Leo Wilson.
Can I just talk real loud, or do you want me to grab the
I
mic?
will make sure everybody.
Thanks, Rob. Good evening. Good evening. I'm an appointed member by the City of San Diego for the Mayor's Committee on Disability, and we strongly support the project. We've looked at it many times, have had many presentations, and we have people on our committee from different backgrounds, vision impaired, mobility impaired, hearing impaired, and the way the project's been presented, the access for all of those different disabilities have been well represented and well taken care of with the way the parking structure is going to be set up in the transportation, the trams, and we're very, very happy with the project, and we unanimously approve it. Thank you.
Thank you. Rex, Leo Wilson, and Steve Hubbard.
Thanks, and you did a great job with my last name. Rex Garnowitz with the San Diego Museum of Man. As the westernmost institution on Balboa Park's Central Mesa, the San Diego Museum of Man is arguably the most impacted by the proposed Plaza de Panama project. We are the institution that is closest to the proposed Centennial Bridge, which would be directly across from our administration building and curve around our collection facilities. Nearly 7,000 cars pass by our front door each day. Unfortunately, this creates a safety concern for our patrons, including many school children, as well as visitors who back up into traffic as they take photographs of the beautiful California Tower. If cars were removed from the Plaza de California, it would be one of the most enjoyable pedestrian spaces in all of Balboa Park. In our view, the Plaza de Panama project, the Jacobs Plan, does the best job of balancing the needs of Balboa Park, its visitors, and its institutions. We believe that the project will successfully restore Balboa Park's beautiful public spaces for the enjoyment of the public, while still maintaining public access from both sides of Balboa Park, which we think is really important. I hope you will join us and the majority of institutions of the park to vote to support this important plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Leo Wilson, is Leo here? Steve Hutter, Dionne Carlson, and Judith DeBaki.
Good evening. My name is Steve Hutter. I'm president of Hutter Designs Landscape Architects, and I fully support the Plaza de Panama project. Interestingly enough, in the late 80s, I had a good fortune of working with the Strata Land Planning on this project when it was the Balboa Park Master Plan. And one of the few projects that I got involved in with them was the central fountain area. And probably very few people are aware of the fact that that fountain has incredibly detailed tile work in the center of it, but due to the fact that everything is cordoned off and it's catered to the automobile, it's kind of a sad situation that the park and the place should be a public place. It should be for people and not for cars. So I strongly recommend the project proposed. Thank you.
Thank you. Dionne Carlson, Judith DeBaki, followed by Kevin Swanson.
Hi, Dionne Carlson with North Park Planning Committee. I just wanted, you have on your staff report, the very last page is the motion from the North Park Planning Committee. We studied this plan excessively over the last year or more. And we found that really the findings that are required to be made in order to approve this plan cannot be made. The project will adversely affect the applicable land use plans. The proposed project will be detrimental to public health and safety. The proposed project will not comply with land development code regulations. I just want to talk about some of the big picture items on this project. It's huge and massive overkill. You're spending a huge amount of money to gain a mere 274 net parking spaces. There are massive impacts, environmental impacts. Just the amount of dirt that you're removing from the park is unbelievable. Thousands and thousands of truckloads that are going to be going to the Arizona landfill.
Yanni, I'm sorry you're out of time.
Thank you.
Thank you. I believe it's Judith DeBaki or something like that. That's kind of like your last name. You're right. Okay. Kevin Swanson, Mark Clark, followed by Kathy Humble.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, members of the public. This project does nothing to restore the National Historic Landmark District in which you're sitting. It actually removes the opportunity to restore the Alcazar parking lot and the Organ Pavilion parking lot to their prior uses during the 1915 and 1935 expositions. There are technology answers that you can find at sandiego2015.com using public light electric vehicles to create an intra-park system and hydrogen fuel cell electric buses to create an external system. Why not put an inspirational building outside of the National Historic Landmark District at Inspiration Point to house park offices, public meeting spaces, dining, a multi-use roof, and a tunnel underneath Park Boulevard so you don't have to design for public streets. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Clark, followed by Kathy Humble, I think that might be, and Welton Jones.
Hi, I'm Mark Clare with the San Diego Archers. I'm an active member of the San Diego Archers, and you know, heard from me before. I found out today that there has been a couple of concessions made that were pointed in our direction to the Alcazar area. Too bad they're not good enough. We have a restroom there now that is the only restroom that's going to be possibly in that area of the park, which is a male and female restroom now with 2 stalls each. And now they're going to put in, they've proposed to provide us with a restroom in that area of a single unisex, one single fixture. That's just not going to work. We've got a tournament this weekend that there's going to be over 200 people at. That's, can you imagine? 1 toilet? Thanks a lot. Also, there's still no parking allotment for the archery range. We're only there 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We still have over 1,000 people a month using that area. We're still against it. Thank you.
Kathy Humber, Welton Jones, and Jim Kidley.
Hello, my name is Kathy Hunter. I live in Claremont. I have been a citizen of San Diego over 60 years. I'm a native. I'm very interested in the beaches and Balboa Park, and it is a jewel, as many people have stated. I have been to one other meeting and didn't say anything, but I wanted to express my opinion since it doesn't seem like the Jacobs Committee is changing their mind at all about getting rid of that bypass bridge. I would like to see no cars going across the Cabrillo Bridge. I'd like to see a parking structure on Balboa Avenue, maybe in the Marston Point area, underground or above ground, and the trams from Sefton Plaza. We've got a great tram set up. It could go from Sefton Plaza right into the west side of the park. And the one person who said people wouldn't go more than 300 feet, I think if the trams and vehicles for disabled went right into that area, that people would utilize that whole area where the Museum of Man and the art places are. And
you're out of time, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Welton Jones, Jim Kidrick, followed by Rene Vidales.
I'm Welton Jones. I live in Middletown. I want to say, ladies and gentlemen, the system is working. The plan isn't perfect. First tries rarely are. But it's a place to start a discussion that continues here tonight. For every weakness that has been identified, exciting new ideas have emerged, such as the brilliant plan of Mr. Lewis. Innovation has been stimulated by the urgent desire of the public to avoid mistakes and find the best plan. The next step must be taken by the city's reviewing agencies like yourselves. The 2015 deadline that started everything has become less important, if not impossible. So attention must be refocused from some symbolic celebration to getting the best deal for the city. The next step is for you and your colleagues, up to and including the City Council, to hear the public and stop the clock. Please have the foresight and the courage to reject this imperfect plan and send it back to continue along its path to perfection. Thank you.
Jim Kidrick, Rene Vidales, Chris Duggan.
I'm Jim Kidrick, President and CEO of the San Diego Air and Space Museum. Many of our partners have discussed this. We are fully supportive of the Jacobs Plan and especially believe continued west entry to the park is critical to the successful flow of the park and its future. We think it's a very, very visionary approach. We have looked at it once again very carefully, as have others, and are very supportive. Thank you.
Thank you. Rene Vidales, Chris Duggan, followed by Anthony Baldwin.
Yes, my name is Rene Vidales. I'm the Vice Chair of the North Park Planning Committee, and like my other colleague, Dionne Carlson, stated previously, we had a wonderful one-page motion that is listed on your attachment S, if you want to read it. But since I only have 1 minute, I can only summarize what it says. The third part of the motion had to do with the findings the city staff needs to make. The first part of the motion has to do with historical resources, excessive grading, specific amendments that will not preclude any future projects if this project does not go forward, the introduction of park fees that will be detrimental to a lot of low-income people, and the creation of creating liabilities to city taxpayers to repay the parking garage bonds if the project's estimated parking garage occupancy levels fall before the 77% projection. The second part of the motion had to do with proposed circulation and parking and how these are in conflict with the current regional and national park planning best practices. We urge you, the planning committee of North Park urges you to vote no on the supporting this project. Thank you.
Chris Duggan, Anthony Baldwin, Alan Hazard. No Chris Duggan? Oh, sorry. Anthony Baldwin, Alan Hazard, and Amy Squires, I believe.
Hi, my name is Anthony Baldwin. I'm a resident of University Heights. I strongly support the Plaza de Panama project. I think it'll reclaim the historic plazas and promenades in the core of the park from cars and return them to their historic pedestrian use, which is very important. This plan is the only one that balances the needs of the many park interests, including the restoration of the historic heart of Balboa Park, increases usable park space, increases access through additional parking and a free tram system, and also maintains from both east and west sides of the park. None of the alternatives accomplish all these goals. I urge you to support the Plaza de Panama project and reject the alternatives. Thank you.
Thank you. Alan Hazard, Amy Squires, and Kendall Squires.
Alan Hazard, Mission Hills. My great-grandfather was Harry Alan Hazard. He helped build the California Tower 100 years ago. The Jacobs Folly is the most expensive, invasive, destructive plan possible. It is not compatible with the Interior Secretary standards, which is why the National Trust, the California State Office for Preservation, and SOHO strongly oppose it. Well-planned parks increase pedestrian access, safety, and tram access. The Jacobs Folly ignores safety for people and cars. The whiplash 90-degree turn into a concrete ramp where thousands of pedestrians and cars converge in a blind spot in a confined space will create a bottleneck. As designed, the Jacobs Folly caters to the car, not the pedestrian. The net gain after valet and parking and all that is 162 spaces, and that's at a cost of $60,000. Hell of a deal.
Thank you. Amy Squires, Kendall Squires, Jarvis Ross.
I'm Amy Squires from Bonita, and for 35 years I've come up to Balboa Park to either volunteer at many of the venues here at all times of the year, and usually by myself. And I've come here for programs and lunches and have enjoyed the park very much. I'm in favor of the project because when I come to the park to give of my time as a volunteer, and you know there are many, many, many volunteers that support the park, that we do need a place to park. I'm glad to say I can afford the $5 it might cost, but it's better than coming up here not finding a place to park and having to turn around and go back home, which doesn't benefit any of the places that I volunteer. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy, and thank you for volunteering in Balboa Park.
Thank you.
Kendall Squires, Jarvis Ross, and Michael Wall.
Thank you. I've grown up in this town and I've seen Balboa Park for over 60 years. It is a magnificent park. I fully support this plan because it appears the best practical, realistically attainable use of what resources we have to accomplish something everybody wants, which is get the cars out of the center of the park. And the Lewis plan looks very nice, but as you've seen, there have been reams of beautiful plans and pretty pictures. This is a plan which has been well thought out, has been funded well, and has a realistic chance of being implemented. It is not destroying any historical structure. The architect planted those trees. This is the best chance we have. Please support it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Committee member.
Following Jarvis Ross, we have Michael Wall and Tom Welch.
Committee members, Jarvis Ross, I'm a member of the Peninsula Community Planning Board, and we, along with 4 other planning boards, voted in opposition to the bypass bridge. Beyond that, this project does not require unneeded, historically detrimental structures that were not there in 1915 and would add to the park's $240 million deferred, unfunded maintenance. This project is not fully funded. Beyond that, at this morning's meeting, this was with the Planning Commission, it was brought up about voting because it was determined that was just an informational project there. The city attorney, deputy city attorney, said that they could go ahead and listen to it. This is a voting thing, and it should not be voted on. Thank you.
Following Michael Wall, we'll have Tom Welch and Margaret Cucina.
I'm Michael Wall. I'm Vice President of Research and Public Programs at the San Diego Natural History Museum. I'm here today representing our board of directors and all of our staff who enthusiastically support the Plaza de Panama project as proposed by the Jacobs Plan. And I had 2 minutes of remarks that I'm trimming down, but one thing that I want to emphasize is that when we develop exhibits at the Natural History Museum, we have a mantra that we use when we make all decisions on what to include and what not to include. And that mantra is, will it be the best for the most visitors? And we strongly urge you to do the best for the most visitors to Balboa Park by approving the Jacobs Plan as it's presented. We're here, lots of other alternatives that are out here. I completely agree with Pete. We've got a good program here that has a lot of support, and it has a lot of support for the most number of visitors. So I really encourage you to support the project that's for the benefit for the most number of visitors to Balboa Park. And I think it's the Jacobs Plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Following Tom Welch, we'll have Margaret Kuchnia and Kim Hull.
Good evening. I'm Tom Welch with Security Business Bank, as well as the GSDBA, which is the Greater San Diego Business Development Association, and I'm the chairman of the board. And we wholeheartedly support this program. We support many businesses throughout San Diego County. San Diego, 80% of our businesses are small businesses here in San Diego. And the third largest revenue source is tourism here in San Diego. And tourists come to see this park. There's been many proposals put before us for 55 years. We have not made a decision. We continue to defer decisions. It's time to do something and move forward for not only for all the visitors that come to San Diego. This is a jewel of San Diego, and it needs to be revived, and we need to breathe life into it. We wholeheartedly support it, and we ask for your support. Thank you.
Margaret Kuchnia and Kim Hull.
Hi, my name is Margaret Kuchnia. I'm probably the newest San Diegan in the room and new to this plan, but I have some observations. I saw a presentation this morning of the plan, and I find it, the Jacobs Plan, remarkably aesthetically unappealing. I think the mall looks more like kind of a shopping mall type of thing. It just doesn't seem to fit with the park. I think it'll be amazingly disruptive to build this, and it seems like there are other alternatives that might not be quite as disruptive in terms of moving soil and limiting participation in the park. I'm curious about the cost of this and whether this will bring privatization to the park. I'm curious whether the Native American community of the Kumeyaat have been contacted, because all the soil that used to belong to them will be moved, and there may be things under the ground that belong to them still. I feel like the public should be heard more about this. This is an amazing, this park is incredible. I'm blown away every time I visit it. So it feels like the public needs to be heard more, and I'm curious about the EIR. Thank you.
Thank you. It appears Kim Heller will have the last word from the public.
So does that mean I get more time? My name is Kim Heller, and I'm a native San Diegan. And for most of my life, I've been able to enjoy Balboa Park with my siblings, and I've felt very fortunate. I have been. When I heard of the Plaza de Panama Committee, I approached Dr. Jacobs and asked him how I could be involved, because I recognized the important opportunity that it represented to San Diegans. I am now a member of the Plaza de Panama Committee, and until recently I served as a trustee of the Museum of Man. As you know, the park has suffered over the years from lack of funding for maintenance and to address key issues such as parking and access. The Plaza de Panama project does not solve every issue in Balboa Park, but it makes substantial improvements that will transform the visitor experience in the park. No longer will the majority of the space be dedicated to cars. It will instead be returned to park visitors as it was originally intended. I am proud to serve on the Plaza de Panama Committee and hope this project will set a precedent for future private investment and improvements to this important asset. I urge you to seize the opportunity to support this important project. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. I want to thank all of you who took the time not just to be here, but also to speak, whatever your point of view was. I know for most of us, public speaking is not real comfortable, and I appreciate the passion that motivated you to stand up here in front of this crowd and speak. Thank you very much. Before we begin committee discussion, I have a few words to say. I want to remind you all that we're an advisory committee. The ultimate decision will be made by City Council, currently scheduled for sometime in July, I believe. However, we are advisory. However, we're the first of 4 board and committees and commissions that will be looking at this. They're not obligated to take our position, but I'm sure whatever we decide will help inform whatever decision they make. And also before our discussion, I wanted to say I have no idea how much detail we want to get into tonight, but if we are going to discuss certain sections of it, I would prefer that our discussion remain focused, and so that we would take one element, one section at a time, and not jump back and forth if you want to get into that kind of detail. So at this point, I'm happy to open up the discussion. David?
In light of your mention about being consistent or logical as far as reviewing perhaps each element and as a point of what I consider a way in which we can review this project tonight, I'd like to make a motion in the outset. I'd like to move that the project and elements be discussed individually, and that the comments and recommendations and actions be made on each by the committee.
Okay, we have a motion to discuss and I believe vote on each element. Can you clarify that with which elements those are?
Those are the 6 elements that are part of the project.
And can you name those, please?
It's Plaza de Panama, El Prado and Plaza de California, the Centennial Bridge and Centennial Road, Alcazar parking lot, the mall and Pan American Promenade, the parking structures, the rooftop park, tram, and Arizona street lamp.
Okay, just to review that, because I want to be clear on any motions we make tonight. You have made a motion to discuss these 6 elements and vote on each of the 6 elements. And the 6 elements are Plaza de Panama, El Prado, and
Centennial Bridge.
No. Was there something else with El Prado?
Plaza de California.
Logical. Plaza de California, the Centennial Bridge, Alcazar, parking lot, the mall and the promenade, and the parking structure,
rooftop park,
and the landfill.
and landfill.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Mike? Okay, we have a motion and a second to discuss these 6 elements of the park individually and vote on each element. Discussion? Mike?
Discussion on the motion, I thought you were going got a hum to it now. Before, I thought you were going to allow us to ask some questions of the consultant. You said there was going to be a discussion. I know we have a motion and the discussion has to be on that, but was there not a time to ask a few questions?
I'm sorry, I didn't make that clear. We definitely, part of our discussion will include questions for Mark Johnson on the project and Charlie Daniels, unless he went home, on the process. Charlie knows more about the process. Yes, we will have an opportunity to discuss each of these with Mark and Charlie. Okay, we have a motion, and it's been seconded. Discussion?
Yeah, I would suggest, Mr. Chairman, that good idea to discuss this on Saturday. But it makes no sense whatsoever.
Pardon, because we're here to talk about a project, not components, vote on, give advice to the various other groups that are involved in the process. And I think that'd be a waste of time to have one of those votes on different elements. We should discuss each element. I see no reason whatsoever to have separate votes.
Thank you. Anything else?
I would have commented substantially along the same lines.
Thank you. Mr. Stepke?
It is no secret that the public comment period for the EIR was extended. I think it is very, very important that those comments made to the EIR are addressed by city staff, and that we have an opportunity to hear the fully vetted comments back from city staff regarding it before we begin to pass amendments to the precise and master plans, which I failed to mention at the onset. I'm a planner and real estate developer in my professional background. And let us just say it's rather ironic that the amendments are being drawn up now after a plan has been introduced, rather than a project being introduced, rather than a project fitting the existing plans. I would think that it would be in the best interest of the public, and it is the public's park, to delay this action until we've heard back from city staff.
Thank you for that. We do have a motion on the floor. There may be a time when we make that motion as well. We have a motion. Mr. Sigmund.
I guess I would have to disagree with relative to breaking it into parts. 18 meetings, we've heard an awful lot for a very long period of time. Extremely complex project. I've tried to keep most of my opinions to myself and ask most of the questions. There's parts of the plan I love, parts I hate. Don't put me in a position to actually have to turn it down, because there's some things there that are very good in the plan, and I would like to see some of it move forward. I think it's the responsibility of this group, out of all the other groups that you've seen that have made some type of a statement here, we're really supposed to be the ones to provide the most input. This is Balboa Park Committee. We're the ones that really should be providing the most input. To think it comes down after a year and a half to just a yes or a no on the entire project, I think would be really inappropriate. It wouldn't be giving the information that others who are still trying to make a decision on this probably need. And I just think it warrants our time and effort
to break these into these segments. And if for some reason, you know, we don't get support on the vote, then I would be entertaining another motion to actually delay the vote from tonight.
Thank you. Discussion on the motion from anyone else on the committee? Seeing none, then I call the question. All those who approve the motion to break the project, the discussion and the vote of the project up into these 6 elements, please vote by raising your hand. 2. We have 2. Those opposed? So the nays have it. Are there, well, I'm sorry, was there an abstention? I didn't see. Okay, the nays have it. Mr. McDowell.
Mr. Chairman, as we've learned this evening, this is the 18th time the Plaza de Panama Committee has appeared before this committee in the past year and a half. They have conducted workshops to engage the community, given presentations on each specific element of the project, and built a sustained dialogue with us and the public, during which no aspect of this project has gone unexamined. In my opinion, this process has been thorough and participatory. Also, in my opinion, this committee has all of the information it needs to vote tonight to support or oppose this project. Outside of this setting, the Plaza de Panama project has been the subject of about 200 presentations in the community. Short of the planning of the 1915 Panama, California Exposition, it is, to my knowledge, perhaps the most extensive and comprehensive outreach effort in the history of our park and maybe the city. There are people here tonight who do not like this plan. They have been present at our meetings for the past 18 months, representing their views, providing alternatives, expressing their passion. That's a good thing. The process has worked. I hope you'll agree that this process has exceeded at least my expectations and hopefully yours. Everyone has had a chance to speak their mind, many more than once. We're a city of 1.3 million people, a county of twice that size. No one expects unanimity, nor should anyone demand it. There is no plan out there, and I've seen my share tonight and elsewhere, that will be embraced by everyone. However, this is an excellent plan, and it meets the very high standards I have for the park. It has been advanced to a level far beyond anything planned or done in the park, beyond our own master plan and precise plan. I am confident it will accomplish its goals and add to the beauty and accessibility of the park. I remind everyone that over the years, as we've heard, there have been many plans for Balboa Park that have never been implemented because they have no funding source. And sadly, there is no expectation that they will ever be funded. So they sit on shelves gathering dust, and the quality of our great park degrades year by year. Waiting for a perfect plan is not an option. And doing nothing is not an option either. As stewards of this great park, we need to be planning and implementing now for the next 100 years. Our park needs real solutions to its circulation and parking problems. This plan, the Jacobs Plan, begins the realization of immediate and long-term solutions. It adds new parking, and it puts it in the very place that the master plan calls for new parking. By separating traffic from pedestrians, it will prevent the bottlenecks that back up traffic for up to 10 or 15 minutes across the Cabrillo Bridge every weekend afternoon. It adds parkland, and it opens up new areas to pedestrians. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that we'll never see again. Tonight's vote marks an important turning point in our ability to build on the legacy of previous generations by making Balboa Park safer, more accessible, and more beautiful. As Vice Chair of this committee, I make the motion in support of the Plaza de Panama project for approval of the amendments to the master plan, precise plan, and the site development permit. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for your spontaneous words, Mike. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Dr. Hager has seconded the motion. Discussion. Mr. Singleton.
Based on Robert's Rules of Order, can I submit a substitute motion?
I don't believe so.
It's my understanding I should be able to.
You can. Okay. I've been corrected. You can make a motion. It'll need to be seconded, and it will need approval of 2/3 of the committee for approval. Thank you, Bruce.
Well, despite the press release that we just heard, I disagree with the fact that we've had plenty of opportunity to hear, study, analyze, and make a decision on this. Two outstanding factors are that we have not seen anything on the EIR comments. I know our board does not have to have the EIR comments in it. I know myself, I had 2.5 pages worth of questions that I have not heard a single answer to. So based on that, I don't think I'm informed on it. It's also amazing to me to get the most recent pile of paper that we obtained just a few days ago and expect that we would support, read, understand, comment on, and make a judgment call on what was just given to us. These are things that have normally have taken years in terms of precise plan amendments, master plan amendments, and then we're given less than a week to be able to even understand what's been put in front of us. And if any of you can look me in the face and say that you have read everything, you've read the entire environmental document, you've read everything that's been put in front of you, I would have to look at you cross-eyed back, because I have tried and have only made a small dent in it, but I don't think that none of us have really been able to go through this as much as we need to. So given that, my motion, my substitute motion would be that we delay this to the next Balboa Park Committee meeting, giving ourselves enough time to take advantage of the EIR comments and enough time to be able to review all the amendments that have been placed in front of us in the last few days.
Thank you. That motion will require a second. Mr. Sepke? So we have a motion and a second to delay our vote until our June meeting, our next meeting?
Or even if it's a special meeting after the EIR comments are available.
So a substitute motion requires 2/3 vote. Discussion on Mr. Singleton's motion? Ms. Dillon.
Yes, I support the motion. I too have had difficulty reading through everything, and I would like to see the comments. I think they would be very informative, so I would support the substitute motion.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Without getting into a duel of who's read what, I respectfully disagree with the idea of postponing the vote. I think that we have ample information, we have an abundance of information, and we've all absorbed it in our own way over 18 months. Whether we've read this piece of paper this couple of days or 2 months ago, it doesn't matter. We have the information, and I wouldn't want to delay this anymore.
Thank you.
I would submit that if one does read the documents that were given to us and that are available for download, one will see that there's only tens, maybe low hundreds of pages. The changes, the strikeouts and modifications are very sparse. The modifications to the figures follow very faithfully what we have been presented with over numerous workshops and numerous handouts. So there are no surprises in these modifications to the plans, I would say personally. And I agree that we have had the EIR to read, hundreds of pages of it, which many of us have waded through since January 24th. And I think if we've done our job, as I believe we have, there is no point in delaying this further.
Thank you. Anyone else? Ms. Gonzalez?
The Plaza de Panama Committee went through a long, fair process they met with individual institutions, and each institution gave their concerns and issues, and they came back to us. If we're going to move this to the next meeting, then it's going to, another issue is going to be brought up, and then we're going to delay it again to the following meeting. So I'm not sure if you know, if that will be good to delay the vote for next meeting.
Thank you. Other comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. We have a motion to delay the meeting for a month, giving us time to examine the final EIR. All those in favor of that motion, please vote by raising your hand. We have 3. All those opposed? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Motion fails. I'm assuming there's no abstentions. So we go back to our original motion, which is to approve the project as presented, and I'm opening up discussion on that project. If you do want to discuss elements of the project, again, I would prefer the discussion be focused and not jump back and forth between different elements.